But this is the end of the Start Somewhere podcast. Welcome to the Start Somewhere podcast. I'm your host, Isabelle Prestia, and through my personal stories and insightful episodes, I help you fight fear, cultivate confidence, and feel empowered. So, are you ready to take the first step towards creating your reality? Let's start somewhere together. We are at the end of an era. I have really been procrastinating recording this episode all day today. But you know what? The things that you resist the most are the things that are going to give you the most growth. They're going to give you the most expansion, and ultimately are the things that you need to do, right? So you're probably thinking, what on earth are we going at here? Where are we going? Before we do get started, hello, my name is Isabelle Prestia. I am the host of Start Somewhere, the podcast, and I am very grateful you decided to spend the next few moments with myself today in this episode. You're probably wondering what on earth is going on with this title. Where are you going? All the things. Let's have a bit of a recap. I was in Bali for a week with one of my best friends. Before the Bali trip, I was in Melbourne visiting another one of my best friends who moved there. I live in Adelaide, South Australia, for those of you who do not know. I'm 26. I am a Sagittarius. I love to explore. I love to travel. I love to connect. I love to be with my friends. I think I already said I love to explore. I am somebody who is such a wanderer. I'm so curious. I love to know why things happen. I love to know why people think the things they think. I am very much a free spirit, but I'm also incredibly driven, insanely ambitious, a very hard worker. I am so creative. It's my favorite thing. I meditate daily. I've been meditating since 2019, pretty much every single day. It has wholeheartedly changed my life for the better. I have a book club. I'm recently discovered I'm such a bookworm. I have co-created a wellness app called Sala, where I'm also a meditation teacher and have a bunch of recorded meditations on the app for our Sala community to listen to. I have a YouTube channel where I do upload these episodes as well when I choose to record them, which this one we are video recording. I'm in like full matching pink attire. I have a pink light behind me. It's a full vibe right now. I am single and have been for 4 years as of October this year. Before then, I was in a relationship for 4 years as well. Moved out with him, lived together, traveled, did all the things. So I've been living my best single era for quite some time. And about this time last year is when I truly fell in love with being single. For over 12 months, almost 18 months now, I have been so incredibly secure in myself, so sure of myself. I know what I bring to the table. I know my worth. I am not settling when it comes to love, because I have gotten myself so far on my own and I'm just not willing to settle. I have, I believe, bold boundaries and high standards, and they just continue to evolve the more as I evolve. I do truly believe it is very easy for me to make friends and for me to get along with people and for me to connect with people. And I find so often if I meet somebody new, or maybe somebody who I haven't actually known for that long, it's so incredibly easy for them to open up to me. I really do know I am that safe space. I get told that. I meet people and they're like, I actually had this one story. This guy I was dating many moons ago now, I met one of his friends, and first time I met him and he opened up, I was just small talk. What do you do for work? And he started opening up and telling me his whole life story. And midway through this conversation, he had this real puzzled look in his face. And he's like, I don't know why I'm telling you all this right now. He got very open and vulnerable. And I was like, hey, sometimes you just need to get those things out. And I know I am that person for a lot of people, which is really cool. I started my coaching business in 2022 of last year. And I saw incredible success very quickly. I signed my first client within 7 days. She was a long-time listener of the podcast, Tia. Shout out if you're listening. And from then onwards, I continue to sign an abundance of clients through my communities, through Sala, I made a lot of friendships through my book club. I gained a lot of traction. I went on a Mindspo retreat in last year, along with my solo European adventure, which was the best thing I've done for myself to date. So I've done a lot of things, a lot of external things, a lot of internal things. The best thing I've manifested is my confidence. It will continue to be my confidence. I truly feel like my happiest self right now. When on paper, I don't have all the things that society tells us that we should have. I don't have the house. I don't have the boyfriend. I don't have the glamorized 6-figure paying job. But I've never just felt so secure and sure from within. My level of trust, my level of self-trust has reached a whole new level, right? It's like we've tapped into a whole new game. And it's been really bittersweet recently. By recently, I mean the month of June. So I'm recording this on June 27th, and this will be going up on the coming Monday. And I got back from Bali a couple of days ago, and I've really just been sitting in all the feels, coming back to reality, the mundane of life, the routines. You know how it is when you've been away and you're escaping the matrix and you're escaping life, and eventually it's going to come to an end, right? And the old me would be this insanely positive person where they are almost in denial to the realities of life. And I love what I've stepped into more, where I'm so realistic with so much of life. And I understand we have really shitty days, and I understand we go through really unfortunate times. I also understand that a bad day doesn't mean a bad life. And we go through these experiences always for a reason. And your hard work is always going to be noticed and recognized. It may just not be instantly. And the piece of instant gratification is, if you're relying on instant gratification, I believe you are never going to find internal and eternal happiness, because you're always going to be waiting for the quick fix, the dopamine rush. I really love the relationship I've created with social media and technology and my phone. I've been going every week, almost for about a month now. I've been going 1 to 2 days with no social media. It's been the best thing for my soul. I really am so disciplined when it comes to checking it. It was funny, on my holiday in Bali, I was the complete opposite. I was so reckless. I was scrolling. My screen time was crazy. I was on TikTok, all the things. And I was like, fuck, I'm on holiday. But I'm really proud of myself because I'm back to reality now, and I'm obeying to my screen time rules, and I'm being so mindful not to pick it up in the morning. Like, it's 3 p.m. and I haven't even opened Instagram yet. And this really is like the norm for me these days. And I just love that I'm so aware how much social media is a whole bunch of bullshit, to be honest. Funnily enough, my past life, 2-3 years ago, I was a social media manager. I work in marketing. I adore marketing to pieces. It's my favorite thing. I love branding. I love personal branding. I love creating campaigns. This kind of comes back to my whole creativity-ness of me. And I just love marketing so much. But what I don't love is social media. So it's a really interesting position, I want to say, that I'm in, because of course I love building brands, but I don't want to be personally on social media as much anymore. And for those of you who are very attentive followers of the podcast, of my personal account, which is Isabelle Prestia. Wow, I had like a mini burp in the middle of that. You'll notice that I've really pulled back with sharing and posting. If you have been around for a while, you probably would have known I post everything and anything, from the selfie in my mirror before I leave the house to go to the gym, to my coffee, to my journaling, to what book I'm reading, to literally posting my to-do list for the day, right? From the outfit change, from the hike I'm on, from the friend I'm out with for a coffee, and so on and so on. And I was chatting to a very dear friend of mine, Amy, shout out if you're listening. And we were just exchanging a few messages on Facebook the other day. And it was really beautiful because she said something that really brought kind of like another realization to light, which was this whole transition I've been going through. And I've shared this on the podcast. If you're in the dark, you're like, what is she on about? Go back and listen to the bunch of the previous solo episodes. And it's like this transition I've stepped into, this big shift. It's been something so big that I could not even prepare for it. And it wasn't until today I sat down and I had, a bit of a check-in. Like, I've been traveling for 2 weeks. I've been around friends 24/7. I have not had any alone time. And I love my alone time, but I love being around my friends. And I'm so grateful that my friends do not drain me in the slightest. They energize me. But it's been really, I didn't realize how much I needed that just alone time. And by alone time, I mean time to reconnect. And by reconnect, I mean time to pull my tarot cards and just to tap in and just to be in a safe space on my own and just to get so fiercely vulnerable with myself and just be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are you feeling? And really just getting clear on that. And of course, I always know what I'm feeling. I am very intuitive and very tapped in regardless, but I really needed that time. So I did that. And it wasn't until I kind of got out of that whole session that I really recognized that, wow, the past few months have not been good, have not been easy. Don't get me wrong, guys. I've never felt more solid and secure from within. What I mean by is like the challenges I've gone through. Oh my God. Oh my God. They have been so full on. And I've barely been posting, probably like compared to the average person, I'm still posting a lot. But for me, I've barely been posting. And it's been so good for my soul. And just, yeah, what I've been going through has just been really, 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 really full on. And I'm not saying it's been hard and challenging and like, oh my God, the worst. Like, it's been fun. It's been so interesting to navigate, but there's just been so many huge goodbyes and huge endings to not only people and external things, but identities, like parts of me. And I'm going to be 27 at the end of the year. And I really, upon reflection, I was like, this makes sense in my mind. This is, I love to make, what's like the method to this, like the method to the madness. And what is this story? Like, I'm so big on that, on science and, people, they have their own beliefs, but I guess this is a part of my spirituality. Like, this is what helps me. And where I'm getting with this whole tangent is all good things must end. And it makes sense because for the age of 25 and now 26, it's like smack bang mid-20s. And so it makes sense that who I was at 20 is not going to be the same as who I am at 26. And who I am at 26 is no by means going to be the same at 29. And I remember I pulled this reading for myself quite a few months ago. And it's like this message has just stuck with my brain. And it was along the lines of the ages from 27, 28, 29 are just going to be, there's no words to explain how incredible they're going to be. And I feel that so deeply within. And I knew that in order to get to that place, I had to go through these endings and these sheddings. And what I mean by this is like, it's identities, it's realizations for myself. I feel like I'm really not making sense here. I hope I am. So I'm just going to I have a whole bunch of notes. I haven't even like looked at what I actually want to get to the point of in this podcast. But this is the end of the Start Somewhere podcast. For now, anyway. This isn't goodbye forever. It's goodbye for now. And the reason for this is because I am taking things in my life in an entirely new direction. So I've been working my butt off from behind the scenes, honestly, for so many months now. It's been a huge transition, as I've pretty much already prefaced. And one that, I couldn't even comprehend for how big it truly would be. And I think these are the things that are the most monumental when, think back to a time in your life or a really fond memory and it went even better than you could expect. And I love those types of moments the best because I like to look at it as the universe always had this in plan for you. It always had this in store for you, but your mind just couldn't even comprehend how incredible it was going to be. And I do this, like, I manifest, yes, and I think about things, but I'm also very mindful not to get caught up in overthinking about things. Like, for example, my Europe trip, I had -0 expectations. I did not want to fantasize and think it's going to, oh my gosh, it's going to look like this and this is going to happen and this. Like, I had absolutely none. And that trip turned out to be the most perfect experience of my life. And the most perfect 3 weeks that my mind could not even comprehend of happening. And I think that's the best place and the most exciting place to be in. So where I'm at now is yet again another very exciting, expansive place. I just feel so light, so free. I feel so at peace. I feel so content. I feel so excited and energized as to what's to come. And I truly believe that this is such a reflection of the world I've created internally. It's this sense of security and stability that I have within in my self-worth. And where I'm going at here is to leave this podcast, to end this podcast. It makes me sad. It makes me sad in a way where, there's those endings and you don't want to say goodbye, but you have to. That's what this ending feels like for me. And I know that, the saying, when one door closes, another one opens. And I know that I have got so much coming in for me. And in order for all of that to come in, I need to create a lot of space. And that, for some unknown reason, involves ending the podcast. And this has been a thought that's been with me. I've contemplated ending it for over 12 months. Every now and then it comes up, then it goes down, then comes up and comes down. Kind of like a breakup in a funny way. And it just didn't feel like the right time yet. And then when I was on my trip in Bali and I was with my friend and we're pulling some tarot cards, and I don't even know how this came up, but it came up, ending the podcast. And I realized it, my friend helped me realize it, and we're just like, yeah, it's the right thing to do. And as soon as I made that decision, I just felt like a complete weight had lifted off my shoulder, which is funny because I didn't even have a weight on my shoulder to begin with. It's not like I was laying up at night, oh my God, do I remove it? Do I delete it? Am I stressed? My mind didn't even think about ending it until we did this card reading. And it's like, clearly I had this thought, like I just shared, about 12 months ago. So it was inside of me somewhere, and it just came up. And I remember the next day and every day from onwards that card reading, I would just kept turning to her and say, I'm very excited to end and start somewhere, the podcast. Like, I'm really, really excited. So of course I'm going to miss many parts of it. I'm going to miss all that I've created. I mean, it's not going away forever, but I'm going to miss that I've been consistent. I've been dedicated to this for 3 years. Technically, I've been in a relationship with Start Somewhere. So I've been so committed and so dedicated, and it's been an incredible journey. Like, the guests I've interviewed, Chris Soul from Mindspo, Samantha Daly, so many other incredible humans I've connected with. It was funny. I was actually on another girl's podcast and she was in Bali the same time as I was. And it's like, this podcast has just brought such a huge community aspect to my life. And, we have the society, the Facebook group, which I most likely will also be removing as well. And I just feel like it's something I need to do, and I'm not justifying it. I'm not anything like that. It's just something that I know within. So I just want you to know that this takes immense courage I recognized this some time ago, but now to actually take action. And I think this can be a really beautiful reminder. Look at this as any endings in your life. Maybe it's a friendship, maybe it's a relationship, or leaving a job. And maybe it is good, but you just know there's better, or you deserve better, or whatever your reasoning is. Recognizing that something is no longer for you, even when there is no bad ending or there's no bad specific reason to leave, that takes so much courage. This podcast has also brought me the collaboration with Noom, which was where I recorded a bunch of guided meditations for this company called Noom. They are a health and Weight Watchers app, and they did this brand activation in Manly, Sydney. and I got to record meditations and they played them, and all the commuters from Sydney taking the ferry got to listen, got to tune in, and that opportunity was absolutely unreal. So the podcast brought me that. The podcast has brought me, I believe, such amazing communication skills. The way I'm able to articulate stories and get my message across, it's been like such practice for me. My ability to host interviews and really orchestrate conversations that can get deeper than just, what do you do? Give us a background, like boring. I want to go deeper. I want to know why you do the things you do. I want to know why you think the way you think. Pulling apart those answers from the people I've interviewed, those skills only continue to evolve. I remember my first interview, I was terrified. I was so nervous, and it was probably so not up to the standard I'd want it to be now, but you got to start somewhere, right? I've really been a walking prodigy of start somewhere, of the messaging. I remember when I first started this whole platform, Georgie Stevenson, a really well-known Aussie influencer, the co-owner of Naked Harvest, which is a natural supplements brand. I did one-on-one mentoring with Georgie in 2020, and she helped me start the podcast. So I think it's pretty fucking cool that I believe one of the biggest influencers in Australia helped me start somewhere. And from then onwards, I've been able to interview such big names, such names similar to myself from all walks of life, and they've all been able to share their message, provide value to you, the audience. And I was actually going through my analytics before, and we have listeners from all over the world. And what I mean by this is, like, I just clicked on the US and it covered so many different states, from Ohio to Kansas to Chicago. And my mind was blown at just how many people this podcast reached. So if you are a listener and you've shared this, you've shared one episode, you've shared many to a friend of yours, to somebody who you know that has benefited from any of the content I share, I just want to give you the biggest virtual hug right now, because it's thanks to you that helps this podcast reach the number of people it's reached. And it was really cool because at the start of June, I set myself a goal for the podcast. I wanted these certain few episodes to reach a certain number of downloads. And when I checked this morning, they've all achieved that goal. And it was really interesting because I kind of caught myself being like, well, is this the right decision still? But it's like, no, of course it is. I'm going out with a bang. And I think this is a really beautiful lesson for me as well, the art of being decisive and really acting on this decision. And in the moment in Bali, when I came up with this idea, it's funny, I came up with the idea to end a podcast. It just felt like the right thing. Like, you know, when things just feel like the right thing, but you can't exactly explain it. I mean, you don't really need to explain it, but maybe just logically, you can't always explain emotion. You can't always explain intuition. And it's really interesting. I feel like I so easily, 6 months ago, if I was to make this decision and then see myself achieve the goal that I actually set for myself, I'll be like, oh, well, that's a sign. Let's just keep doing it. But no, I think the art of being able to decipher signs is really, really subtle. And it's really almost sneaky, because you, like, your mind, you want to interpret it in any way that you can. And I think it's really powerful. The more we can listen to our intuition and be decisive, and the best advice I always give if somebody wants to be more decisive is to go with your first instinct. Like, yeah, we hear listen to your gut, all these things. Obviously, yes, it is your gut instinct. I'm just randomly holding a lighter. Your first instinct. If you're at a cafe and you're looking at the menu and your eyes go to the French toast, but then you're with your friend, they say, oh, I'm going to get the pancakes. And you're like, oh yeah, me too. No. Go with your first instinct. And this sounds like such a strange example, and maybe the pancakes are the better option. But the point being here, it's not the brunch menu. The point being is you are learning to trust yourself. You are learning to listen to yourself. And this is like a muscle, right? So you're strengthening this muscle. So like we go to the gym to get fitter, to get stronger, we're doing the same with our mind. And the more you can practice this, the better it's going to become. The better you are going to be at making decisions, at listening to your intuition. at tapping in. When I say tapping in, I do mean really listening to yourself, like how I shared before. It's when I have my tarot cards, I'm tapping in, I'm getting really clear. And it's like your intuition, it's quiet. It whispers. It is very silent. Your mind, the anxiety, the overthinking is loud as hell, right? So of course it's going to be easier to listen to the chatter up in your mind, but your intuition is in your heart. It's in your belly. It's internal, right? And it's harder to hear because when your mind is yelling, absolutely yelling, say it like, imagine like a megaphone, and your intuition is so silent, but your intuition is the right thing to listen to because your mind is ruled by fear. Your mind is ruled by logic, right? You're doing things that logically, this sounds like the right thing to do, but it might not feel like the right thing to do. And I know that I guarantee you have had an experience in your life where you've made a decision. It was the right decision, but you just can't explain why it was the right decision because maybe on paper or maybe externally, it looked like the real fucking wrong decision to make. But deep down, you knew that it was something you had to do. It's funny, I have actually a story about this. When I moved out with my past boyfriend, logically, it made no sense because I wanted to break up with him. And when I told my friends, they were like, what are you doing? Don't you want to leave him? But it's like I couldn't explain why I wanted to do it. I was like, I just feel like it's the right thing to do for whatever reason. And fill in the blanks, tune into episode 1 of the podcast. You know exactly what happened. No regrets. It was actually the best thing I ever did because I fast tracked what I needed to learn about the whole situation and get out of that whole situation. So, and episode 1 is how we started the podcast, right? And if I never did what I did, if I never moved out, if I never discovered all of that shit, who knows? Who knows where I would be? I don't even think Start Somewhere would be here, but it was that intuition feeling and it made no sense to my friends. They thought I was crazy. But I was like, I'm not going to listen to what they know, to what they think. I know what I know is true. And that's my intuition telling me this. So it's really powerful what listening to your intuition, where it's going to take you. And especially the place I'm in right now in my life. I've never had so much trust in what is coming to me, but I've never had so little knowing about what that is. And what I mean by this is I always know what I want. I've always got my mental list or my physical list. I'm so clear whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's the next step in my life. I always have some kind of knowing, right? Whether it's super specific or really broad. And the point I'm at now is like, I have my lists, my mental, my physical list. I know what I want, but the how, I've never been so in the dark about it. But the best part is I've never had so much trust that it is going to work out for me in a way that my mind can't even comprehend yet. And it's really exciting because when we play in the unknown, the more we're in the unknown, but we can really harmonize and have this beautiful balance of peace. Like we're not all sporadic and our nervous system isn't like fucked basically. And we're not feeling all hyper and all over the place. We're feeling the most calm we can be. This is where we quantum leap. And 2022 really was the year of quantum leaps for me. You know, I shared in my business, I had so much incredible growth and the app and the book club and all the other amazing external things I did, right? Because I was so much in this unknown space. And if you told me at the start of the year, Isabelle, you're going to achieve and do all these things, I'd be like, wow, that sounds so amazing, right? But my brain couldn't really comprehend those really cool things yet. So the more you can find peace in the unknown, the more you're going to quantum leap. And I know that I have a really incredible, I'm already in a quantum leap. I think I remember saying this to my friend Riley. I was texting her and I was like, I feel like I'm quantum leaping right now because it's really important. Be mindful of the words you use. Don't put your manifestations just at arm's reach. Don't say, when I get this, when I look like this, when I think this, or when I get this job, when I get more money. No, because you're always putting that just at arm's reach. You have to speak as if. So I easily could have said, I feel a quantum leap coming. I feel the next opportunity coming. You have to practice that you already have it. I am doing the thing. I have the thing, right? So I'm kind of like sprinkling a bit of a few tips here. So to summarize, I feel the most beautiful excitement for my next chapter. I know that so much more is coming in because I'm really practicing how to create even more space for it. And my personal Instagram at Isabelle Prestia is still going to be running. So if you are not already in our community, be sure to keep up with the journey of my life on there. But I do just want to share that, I mean, I need to dedicate so much love to you listening, whether you are a first-time listener, you've listened to a few of the recent ones, or maybe you're a long-time listener. Maybe you're an OG since 2020. Maybe you found it in 2021 or 2022. Whichever hat you wear, I just need to take a moment to thank you so deeply from the absolute bottom of my heart for your support. Whether you've listened to 1, 10, or 100 episodes, just know that each and every one of your downloads, of your listens, of your shares, whether you're posting on Instagram stories, whether you're sharing it with somebody that you know it's going to benefit, I am so incredibly grateful for every single one of those, because that has been what has encouraged me to keep on going as well, is like seeing the podcast continue to evolve and to grow, and the beautiful connections I've made from it. I can just think of honestly like 10 names off the top of my head from the incredible women that I've connected with through the podcast. And, you know, we don't know each other in real life, but we DM online. I can think of Lucy from England. I can think of Nikki from Australia. And I can think of Tanya from Spain. Like, oh my gosh, it actually blows my mind. So I'm not going forever. You know, I love freedom. I don't like to be capped. I don't like to have a ceiling on my head. So this is simply a goodbye for now, but it's not a goodbye forever. I just want to also end. I absolutely live for storytelling and for creating. You know, I truly believe and I truly know that right now I'm in my fun, let my hair down era. I'm also in my building and creating era. I'm truly allowing myself to have it all. I'm allowing myself to have the freedom, the love, the partnership, the freedom again. And it's so exciting. I feel like I'm truly letting myself finally step into like the final not piece of me, but I just feel like I've really gotten to know myself on an even deeper level. And like, I didn't even think that was possible, but I think the whole point of life is we continue to learn about ourselves, and we continue to get to know ourselves. And the person myself who I've met even more so deeply, I've just fallen in love with even more. And it makes me so excited. Oh my God, take a shot every time I say so excited, because I'm looking in the mirror and I'm just seeing so much. I'm just seeing so much of the internal stuff, and I'm not looking at the external world, and I'm not looking at the achievements and what sounds really good. And, oh, you obtain XYZ, or you have a certain amount of money. Like, I'm not looking at that, you know, it's all it's internal. Right. And I know that the next chapter for me, it is taking a step away from Start Somewhere, the podcast. And I want to say a special thing as well to a special thing. I've realized I've done a lot of deep reflection, as I always do. And I realized that for quite some time, I was actually around people who did not support my growth and change. And what I mean by this is they didn't support my constant desire. Like, I have a constant desire to continue to expand and to flourish. And by this, I mean flourishing and expanding in different directions, you know, whether that is changing fields, changing business, changing career, changing mind. And I realized that I actually was around a fair few people who would dim my light. They told me I shouldn't keep changing, almost framing it as bad or wrong. And it's so fascinating to me, because in the moment, I did not see it as that. And it's not until, I guess, I've spent such quality time with two very close friends of mine and being open with them about all these things, and just really observing their encouragement, where one day I'm saying this, the next day I'm saying this, and they're just supporting whatever decision it is that I want. and they're not telling me that one is bad or one is wrong, and they're not dimming my light. And it's really interesting because I didn't think I was surrounded by people like that, but long and behold, I was. Not anymore though, because I've gone through a really big detox recently, I'm going to call it, in terms of my outside world. And I've loved the place I've gotten myself to right now in terms of who I'm around, who I tell what to, what I tell what to as well. It feels really empowering on a whole new level. And I think it's also such a beautiful point to end the podcast on, because Start Somewhere started as a self-empowerment journey, and it has been that through and through for 3+ years. And I think to end it at a point in my life where I've never felt so empowered by my decisions. And I went through an ending not too long ago with somebody, and it was the best ending I've ever had in my existence. Like, it just was so empowering to leave that like really yucky person in my past behind. And ever since leaving them, life has honestly just felt like a breath of fresh air. And it's just it's really given me like a different perspective for life and the meaning we put to it, but more so the people we allow in and around our life. So I believe I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to love you and leave you for quite some time. I'm just going to give another thanks as well to you listening to this podcast, especially if you got to the very end. I'm giving you so much more love and gratitude for supporting Start Somewhere. And if you are not already following myself on Instagram, be sure to jump on there. The handle is at Isabelle Prestia. The link will be in the show notes. That way you can still keep up with all the things. A lot of excitement is underway behind the scenes. And I can't believe this is the end. I'm not going to lie, guys. I had a bit of a moment before, but this just feels so incredibly right. It's like that decision I shared with moving out with my ex-boyfriend. People will probably get really shocked from this. You know, like my friend was when she heard that, she's like, I've never heard you say this before. And I was like, well, it's been there for a bit. So people will be shocked by this, I know, but just know that your girl is tapped in. I know I'm doing the right thing for myself right now. And I'm going to say this, I said it already twice, I'm going to say it a third time. It's just a goodbye for now. It's not a goodbye forever. So I thank you incredibly for starting somewhere with me, for starting on this journey with me, for being a part of this roller coaster, of this transition, of everything I've gone through. I'm getting emotional. It's been a real inspiring journey. Like I know it's been inspiring for so many of you. That's such a common theme I get in the feedback, is that these episodes inspire you and they motivate you, and it makes me so proud of myself that I can be that person for you, because I feel for so long I didn't recognize I was that person. But yeah, I know I am that light for so many people, and I don't care if that sounds cocky or anything like that. I know that's not the place I'm coming from, but it's a really incredible position to get to when you can really recognize your power and your impact and your influence. And just know I don't take any of this lightly, and it humbles me so much. And I don't walk around thinking like I'm the best of the best. I create that confidence internally, and the fact that I've done it is the most crystal clear proof that you can do it too. So thank you so much for starting somewhere with me on this journey. My name is Isabelle Prestia. I'm your host, and I'm going to love you and leave you.